Okay, I'm going to be reading some of the City of God. It's the preface. The City of God, Book 1, Argument. Augustine censures the pagans who attributed the calamities of the world, and especially the recent sack of Rome by the Goths, to the Christian religion and its prohibition of the worship of the gods. He speaks of the blessings and ills of life, which then as always happen to good and bad man alike. Finally, he rebukes the shamelessness of those who cast up to the Christians that their women have been violated by the soldiers, which I guess means raped. It's kind of bad. Okay, Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Of the adversaries in the name of Christ, whom the barbarians for Christ's sake spared when they stormed the city. For to this earthly city belong the same enemies against whom I have to defend the city of God. Many of them, indeed, being reclaimed from their ungodly error, have become sufficiently credible citizens of this city, but many are so inflamed with hatred against it, and are so ungrateful to its Redeemer for his signal benefits as to forget that they would now be unable to utter a single word to its prejudice. Had they not found in its sacred places, they fled from the enemy's steel, that life in which they now boast themselves. Are not these very Romans, who were spared by the barbarians through their respect for Christ, become enemies of the name of Christ? The reliquaries of the martyrs and churches of the apostles bear witness to this. For in the sack of the city they are open sanctuary for all who fled to them, whether Christian or pagan. The very threshold the bloodthirsty enemy raged. There his murderous fury owned a limit. Thither did such of the enemy as had any pity convey to those who had given quarter, lest any less mercifully disposed might fall upon them. And indeed, when even those murderers who everywhere else showed themselves pitiless to those who came to those spots where that was forbidden which the license of war permitted in every other place, their furious rage of slaughter was bridled, and their eagerness to take prisoners was quenched. Thus escaped multitudes who now reproach the Christian religion, and impute to Christ the ills that have befallen their city, but the preservation of their own life, a boon which they owe to the respect entertained for Christ by the barbarians. They attribute not to our Christ, but to their own good luck. They ought rather, had they any right perceptions, to attribute the severities and hardships inflicted by their enemies to that divine providence which is wont to reform the depraved manners of men by chastisement, and which exercise with similar afflictions the righteous and praiseworthy, either translate them when they have passed through the trial to a better world, or detain them still on earth for ulterior purposes. And they ought to attribute it to the spirit of these Christian times, the contrary to the custom of war. These bloodthirsty barbarians spared them, and spared them for Christ's sake, whether this mercy was actually shown in promiscuous places, or those places specially dedicated to Christ's name, and of which the very largest were selected as sanctuaries, that full scope might thus be given to the expansive commission which desired that a large multitude might find shelter there. Therefore ought they to give God thanks, and with sincere confession flee for refuge to his name, that they may escape the punishment of eternal fire. They who with lying lips took upon them his name, that they might escape the punishment of present destruction. For of those whom you see insolently and shamelessly insulting the servants of Christ, there are numbers who would not have escaped that destruction and slaughter had they not pretended that they themselves were Christ's servants. Yet now, in ungrateful pride and most impious madness, and at risk of being punished in everlasting darkness, they perversely oppose that name under which they fraudulently protected themselves for the sake of enjoying the life. They perversely oppose that name under which they fraudulently protected themselves for the sake of enjoying the light of this brief life. Footnotes. Augustine refers to the sacking of the city of Rome by the West Gothic king Alaric 410. He was the most humane of the barbaric conquerors, and he was the most humane of the barbaric invaders and conquerors of Rome, and had embraced Arian Christianity, probably from the teaching of Ulfilas, the Arian bishop and translator of the Bible. He spared the Catholic Christians. For particulars, see Gibbon's Decline and Fall and Millman's Latin Christianity. Okay, now I'm going to stop the recording now.